Hi gardeners, welcome to Native Plant Channel. I'm Lourdes, and the goal of Native Plant Channel is to help gardeners create beautiful gardens that will also create great habitats for our pollinators, insects, and birds. This video is going to help you with what great plants you can include in your garden in late September that are going to be beautiful and bring in lots of insects buzzing around. At this time of year, so many people turn to mums, but there are just so many more native plants that you can be using in your garden. Here we have beautiful goldenrod, which is not only gorgeous in the garden, but it supports at least 100 species of caterpillars in the Northeast. It also supports many native bees, which would not exist without it. Gardeners, if you're afraid of using goldenrod because you've heard that it's very aggressive, that applies to Canada goldenrod. Many others are very well behaved because overall there are at least 27 species of goldenrod in the Northeast, and they help support wildlife in the fall. Most of them are actually very well behaved. There's also a myth that they contribute to hay fever and allergies, but that's not correct. The real culprit there is ragweed, which blooms at about the same time. With so many species of solidago available, or goldenrod, in the Northeast, you will find one that will meet your needs. Everything from growing in meadows to woodlands. For example, blue-stemmed goldenrod does well in meadows, where wreath goldenrod and crooked stem goldenrod do well in dry shade. According to Doug Tallamy, Solidago is the top genus for supporting caterpillars in North America, and it hosts 181 different caterpillars in North America, not to mention all the bees, some of which are specific to only goldenrod. Seaside goldenrod tolerates salt and is said to tolerate deer as well, and zigzag goldenrod is known for being very drought tolerant. The beautiful specimen you are looking at here is wreath goldenrod. It will do well in shady conditions as well as sun. It only grows to about 2 foot tall, so it's great for you if you're looking for something for the front of the border. And it's just great at attracting pollinators. In nature, goldenrods go very well and grow with asters. Goldenrods also do well with bunching grasses, such as little bluestem, and also with milkweeds. Growing here with goldenrod is an aster. This particular one in the lavender color is New York aster. They grow from 2 to 4 feet tall and are hardy from zones 4 to 8. So you can really grow this in very cold areas. Asters are wonderful plants for pollinators at this time of the year. They really feed a lot of our bees, and their leaves also are food plants for a number of butterfly caterpillars, including the beautiful pearl crescent. Now, there are so many different asters that you can find one to help suit your conditions. For example, for wetland gardens, there is bog aster. If you have a drier, shadier site, well, for dry shade, you have white woodland aster. And this one that you're looking at, New York aster, tolerates clay soil and likes average to moist soils in full sun. Most asters will need full sun. They do tend to flop over, so it's a good idea to cut them back in early June in order to keep them a little bit more compact. And they will reward you and our pollinators with beautiful blooms in September into October. If you have some type of raised bed or a rock wall, here are 2 asters that look nice just falling over those areas. One of them is aromatic aster. This particular one is October skies. You can see just how lovely it looks draping over. And another one that provides the same effect with much smaller flowers is heath aster. This particular one is snow flurry. Another interesting thing, and one of the many wonderful things found in nature, is that asters signal insects to let them know which ones have not been pollinated yet. The unpollinated ones will stay yellow, and the centers will turn darker once they have been pollinated. A plant that looks a lot like aster is this white Boltonia, also called false aster. It really attracts butterflies, also a great plant for butterflies and other insects. It starts blooming in late August, will grow 4 to 6 feet tall. It grows in average soils and prefers full sun, but will take a little bit of shade. But here you can see it doing well with goldenrod and other asters. If you'd like more information on growing Boltonia, please see Native Plant Channel's video dedicated to just this plant, and you can get more information on it. We are more than just gardeners. We are land stewards. We can create sustainable places that support life. I appreciate you being here and learning about all this so that we can improve our world by creating more eco-friendly gardens. Talk about a long blooming plant. Here we come to the lovely pearly everlasting. You'll see these small white flowers, which are also used by people who like dried flower arrangements, and this plant is just very valuable to our butterflies. It is the host plant for the American lady butterfly, and in my garden every single summer it always attracts them, and you can just have so many of them around. It stays in bloom with these airy looking flowers really into October. So what more could you ask for? Long blooming and providing, being a host plant for our butterflies. During the summer months, it's a little easier for insects to find food. But now as we get into September and into the fall, it's not so simple. We have to remember to provide for them because as native plant gardeners, our gardens might be the only place that they can turn to for food. And another thing we have to consider at this time of the year are beautiful native grasses, such as this little blue stem. This provides food for so many of our skippers, relatives of the butterflies. So it's just an extremely important plant to have. This has been a year like no other in our history. And as gardeners, we are so blessed to have our gardens to turn to. A place for us to go for peace, a place that is a refuge that allows us to feel much better when we leave and set out on about our day. If you watched my earlier video this spring, you saw coral honeysuckle and you saw me shearing it back because it was not looking as it should. You'll see now that it has come back beautifully and is still in bloom in September. So in May it puts on a big flush of bloom that was completely covered with blossoms, but it will continue to bloom all the way up until frost. Are you looking for a perennial grass that grows under many different conditions? Well, here you have northern sea oats. It grows in shady areas, it reseeds pretty prolifically, and will also do well in sun. Another name for it is river oats, letting you know that it grows also in very moist soils. I just love the way that these seed heads arch, and it almost looks like there are little fish hanging on a fishing rod. It's very attractive, and the birds love to eat the seeds. So if you have a shady area, give this one a try. Gardeners, you can find out right away when a new video is released by clicking the subscribe button and the bell, and that way you'll know as soon as a new video comes out. Also, if you're on Facebook, please go to Native Plant Channel's Facebook page where I'm able to provide even more information to help you with your garden in creating great habitat. We're now going to see some other gardens located in northern New Jersey so you can see other plants that are in bloom. We're going to start with a garden that was designed to be a wheelchair accessible butterfly garden. This beautiful garden was designed as a butterfly garden. It is wheelchair accessible. You'll see the wide paths and that are bordered by stones that have been individually selected and hand placed. Here in September, you can still see all the wide variety of flowers that are still in bloom. It's a great place to enjoy. The bluish purplish color you're looking at here is blue mistflower, a perennial that grows 2 to 3 feet tall and blooms in late August into September. When designing a butterfly garden, one has to consider blooms to attract them all season long. The yellow is a perennial, tall-growing coreopsis. Those flowers are just so beautiful, and you can see how covered in blooms it is. The many insects enjoy it as well. This lovely garden combines many annuals along with its many perennials, and it's intended to keep the color going and to keep attracting different insects and butterflies. It also is a nice paradise for birds and for people. You might be noticing a lot of what looks like ageratum, these bluish purplish flowers. Well, this is not ageratum. This is the perennial blue mistflower. It is very easy to grow. In fact, it can spread somewhat aggressively and is a great colonizing ground cover. It can grow from 2 to 3 feet tall and attracts bees and butterflies. It grows in sun to part shade and in average to moist soils. In fact, it actually does like moist soils and can be used along streams and riverbanks to help stabilize and control erosion. As you can see, it makes a nice mat that would prevent other weeds from growing in between. However, some people find that it is a little bit too aggressive. It is very useful, however, for our native bees, especially at this time of the year when not so many options are available to them. The garden is also greatly visited by birds, as you can see one flying right here. And that is because of the water features that are being provided for the birds, such as this mister, as well as some other features. The plant that you're looking at here is coral honeysuckle. It is also in a wooded area with many trees available. And of course, the bird feeders do a great job in attracting them, such as this woodpecker. Here are the lovely pink blooms of turtlehead, which is also available in white. It grows 2 to 4 feet tall and actually prefers moist soils. It does tolerate quite a bit of shade as well. It is named turtlehead because the flowers supposedly resemble the head of an open-mouthed turtle. You might think that they also look very similar to the flowers of snapdragons. I'm now moving on to another garden where I have a final plant for you, and that is winterberry. This is actually a type of native holly. The leaves are not sharp, and in fact, it's not even evergreen. However, these beautiful berries will remain through the fall and into the winter after the leaves have fallen. They are very valuable to birds as well. The tree grows 6 to 10 foot tall and is adaptable to wet and dry soils. As the weather cools and plants begin to die back, sometimes gardeners are in a rush to clean up their garden. But it's very important that you do not do this. Leave your garden alone in the fall. Wait till late spring, after the temperatures have really warmed up for a while, before you do that. Because there are many insects that are completing their life cycles, hiding in leaf litter, hiding in plant stems right now. So please, if you're trying to create habitat for them, this is not the time to clean up your garden. You are a special person because you are gardening not just for your own pleasure, but for the habitat to create life. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing. Keep tuning into Native Plant Channel for more information and more on great plants and more information on what you can do in your own garden. Please subscribe and follow us on Facebook as well. Have a great day.